to the grill, stories we will share. Tasty bites and highlights together everywhere. Sports Bites, let's unite. Great food and games tonight. Tune in, feel the vibe. It's a winning ride. Fried chicken, slam dunks and spicy fries. Catch the play-by-play man on a plate of good times. Join us for the flavor, join us for the game. Every bite and replay, memories will frame. Sports Bites, let's unite. Great food and games tonight. Tune in, feel the vibe. It's a winning ride. Football and fried chicken, slam dunks and spicy fries. Catch the play-by-play man on a plate of good times. Join us for the flavor, join us for the game. Every bite and replay, memories will frame. Sports Bites, let's unite. Great food and games tonight. Tune in, feel the vibe. It's a winning ride.
Welcome to Sports Bytes. Welcome to Sports Bytes with your host, Chris Joseph. Are you a sports fanatic who loves the thrill of the game and the delicious food that accompanies it?
And then they had chicken fingers, exotic chicken fingers.
Join us as we dive into the world of sports and the delectable bites that make the experience even better. Whether you're in the stadium, tailgating, or watching from the comfort of your home, get ready to satisfy your sports cravings with Chris Joseph on Sports Bytes. Let's dig in.
What is up, everybody? It is a Monday night, and it is a Reaction Monday. I hope you're doing good. It's Halloween week. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. I love Halloween. I love dressing up. I love the candy. We're going to talk about that tonight. I've got my top 5 Halloween candies, okay? Top 5 Halloween candies. So it's like, and what I mean by that is when you go out, whether when you were a kid or even now as a parent, when you get to put the parent tax on these kids, you want to know what your favorite candy is. And again, it's an open discussion. Feel free to hop in the chat. And let's just have some fun tonight, right? It's Monday night. It's Reaction Monday after a crazy weekend in college football and the NFL. And I've got to start with this. I'm sorry. Those who follow know I'm a Washington Redskins / Commander fan, have been my whole life. And yesterday, I settled in to watch the Commanders play the Bears. And as I'm watching the game, it's frustrating because the Commanders are really doing a really, really good job. Should be up by more. They were up 12-0 at one point. Let the Bears come back. Bears take the lead 15-12 with under a minute to go. And I was like, this upsets me. Should not have lost to the Bears. This is correct. Can't believe we lost to the Bears. Can't believe it. But, and here's the thing. So I had my Washington hat on, Washington shirt, little Kentucky Gold love, and was watching the game, and I took my shirt and hat off. I was like, forget it. I'm disgusted. We lost to the Bears. But then Jaden Daniels happened.
So here you go.
He's gotten hit throughout the rest of the game, and it's hurting more now.
Comes down to one last play, and it's going to be getting longer by the second. You're all the way back at the 30-yard line. Now you can step into it. Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line, and the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle! It's Noah Brown! Oh, my goodness! This town is going crazy. It's a madhouse in Landover, Maryland.
He did it!
Oh, this one will be paid back over and over again for decades. The ball tipped by Stevenson. Noah Brown just standing back there all alone. Plucks it out of the air for the victory.
I know this sounds crazy, but there's a method to the madness here. Everyone usually goes and jumps to the ball. You always put one guy behind and try and put one in front and have two or three go jump for it. And Daniels extending this play, and the time allowed everyone to get down there in position to go toward the ball and be in their spots. And what a game, Jim.
And man, right now, Washington's sitting there at 6-2, guys. Washington's sitting there at 6-2. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're going to talk more about NFL, right? I promise. We'll talk about the NFL. But that Hail Mary play, and like I said, the town's going to go crazy. And so here's the first question I pose to you. Who do you guys, if they're not your favorite team, if you're a Cowboy fan, I get it. But what NFL team would you be like, all right, that's cool, they won a Super Bowl? Or even had success? Detroit? The Commanders? The Bills? Can the Bills do it? I don't know. There were some great games yesterday in the NFL. But again, for the Commanders, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Can't believe, last year, my wife and I, we went down to Atlanta to watch the Commanders play the Falcons. Still not a great year. Only 4 wins on the season for the Falcons. For the Commanders. I saw one of them. So I was pretty happy. Well, it's looking now, my Oklahoma Sooners, they've only got 4 wins. I've seen one of them too. So hopefully they can beat the Maine Black Bears this week and then still have some way to find and secure a victory against LSU, Alabama, or Missouri, as we like to call them, mid-zoo. But it was a great weekend. I'm going to talk a little bit about, my give them a 6 or 6 picks, right? I always pick 6 games. I give you my lock. I struggled this week. I'll admit it. I struggled this week. I took Navy plus a 13.5. If you listen to the Game Day Show with Taylor Aarons and myself, you heard Jeremy Orth come on and talk about it, said he was all over Notre Dame. He's a big Notre Dame fan. I was giving him a little crap about being, a homer when it came to his picks, but he was on the money. Navy looked terrible. We'll break that game down. Alabama covered. I picked that game right, thank God. Kansas State was in a dogfight to the very end. We'll talk about that game. Texas and Vandy. Vanderbilt almost did it again. Oregon looked really good. Oregon looked like the number 1 team in the country. They did what they were supposed to do. They hammered them. LSU, Cody, I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry. It was kind of an ugly night down there in College Station. They're wearing all black. And Marcel Reed came in, and they did it. But, yeah, 2-4 this week. Now 7-3 on my locks for the year. So if you're playing the locks, you're still making a little money, okay? You're still making a little money. You're still up if you play the locks. But, yeah, was not a good weekend for me as far as my picks. First game I do want to get into, talking about the Navy-Notre Dame game. I was hoping, you start thinking about all the fairy tale stuff, Notre Dame, Army, Navy. Can they make it to the finals of the AAC undefeated, How's that going to look? Still two really good teams, but Navy was very uncharacteristically undisciplined in this football game. And for a team that hadn't turned the ball over, they did it multiple times. Multiple times. And it was just crazy because Navy had been really good about protecting the ball. 6 turnovers. 6. Blake Horvath still had a decent day, 7 of 13, 88 yards. Now, the passing game really didn't get going because of all the turnovers, but he also had 14 carries, 128 yards. Riley Leonard, 13 of 21 for 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. And this one was over early. I mean, it was over early. It's sad because I was hoping Navy could have beat Notre Dame. And I'll say this. I made this statement saying Notre Dame will lose to one of the service academies. I might be wrong about that. I mean, last hope is on Army. And again, Bailey at quarterback. He's a completely different beast than Horvath at Navy. But I thought some of the multitude of that offense would give somebody some problem. But there was muff punts that they lost, fumbles on pitches. It was not good. Notre Dame wins 51-14. And it wasn't even close. Now, Notre Dame, you're sitting there, you're looking at their schedule, what they've got coming up. They've got Florida State this week. That should be an easy victory. Virginia should be a victory. Army, now I'm intrigued about that game. I want to see how good Army is. And then USC, their rivalry game. They take on the Fighting Troys, who have not had a good year this year for Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans. So, again, we'll keep focused on that. We'll see. Notre Dame still has that outside shot of being a possible playoff team. They're ranked number 8. Number 8 after losing to Northern Illinois. Can you believe that? Ranked number 8. But kudos to them. They did what they were supposed to do. If you want to win, you want to be considered one of the top, you got to win games you're supposed to win. You got to put people away. Terry, you're right, sir. It was a horrible game. That was the most undisciplined I had seen the Naval Academy play in a long time. The muff punts. And I don't know if, and I'd hate to say the moment was too big for them because these young men are doing more than just playing football. They're going to be putting their lives on the line, protecting this country. So again, a lot more stressful situations than playing at MetLife Stadium against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I had that game on in the YouTube multi-view, right? So I had on multiple games, had on that game, had on Ohio State, Nebraska, had on Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. You did it to me again. You did it to me again. We'll talk about that. God bless our future military leaders. Absolutely, Terry. Absolutely. That's still a game that I would love to go see, just to see the march in. I was a little disappointed in September, because of covering UAB. Navy was coming to town to play University of Alabama, Birmingham. That was also the weekend of Oklahoma, Auburn. So I went down to that game. I'd love to see Navy play. Maybe they come back playing the Birmingham Bowl. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of fun, though. Army, Navy, and Navy still has a chance. Don't get me wrong. Now, Tulane is really going to factor into this, I think, with how good they're playing. Really, really good football team. So keep an eye on Tulane. Monday Night Football getting ready to kick off. Giants and the Steelers. The Giants don't really care. Being a Washington fan, could care less. Could care less. And I love it right now because Washington is in front in the NFC East, sitting at 6-2. I think they're only behind the Lions right now in the NFC. The Lions and the Vikings, I believe. I'd have to take a double look at that. But, yeah, Notre Dame, trounced Navy, wasn't even that close. Now, I'm going to tell you the team that looked the best this weekend to me, Oregon, the Ducks. Shucky ducky quack quack. Them boys came out And not saying that Illinois is world beaters, right? But that's a good football team. And Oregon came out and just diced them up. Dylan Gabriel, 18 of 26, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jordan James did a great job toting the rock. I mean, they just couldn't be stopped. Jordan James had 15 carries, 83 yards. Oregon wins 38-9. 38-9. And really just, dominating. First downs, 27. 527 total yards to 293. Ugh. Oregon's playing really good football. So I do have a top 10 bucket list game, actually 9, since I was at the UCLA USC game in 2006 when the Bruins kept the condoms from going to the Natty. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what buffoonery. I'm sorry, we're not speaking of Washington State, Troy. Sorry. We're speaking of football teams that win and win constantly. I'm kidding. Troy, how you doing, buddy? Appreciate you hopping in. George, boy, your Razorbacks look good. They put it on Mississippi State. Taylor Green, whoo. They were spinning it this weekend, which I think puts Oklahoma down in the bottom for me when you look at yet. I love Troy. Troy's good people. But yeah, talking about the Oregon game, man. Again, right now, to me, they're playing the best football. They played Ohio State, and Ohio State had their hands full with Nebraska this weekend. But when you've got a veteran leader like Dylan Gabriel, you've got a good coach like Dan Lanning, it's going to be interesting to see as they move forward. I mean, just coming up next for Oregon, they got a trip to the Big House. They play Maryland at Wisconsin and close with Washington. Obviously, last year they had 2 really good matchups with Washington. Washington won those matchups. That's what put them into the playoffs. But this year, I think Oregon has the advantage. Now, Michigan, they're going up there. Wazoo be ranked. How's your team doing? I don't give a shit about Wazoo being ranked. Be relevant. Anybody could be ranked. You see some of the buffoons that rank teams. It's all right. We're not doing good. I've told people this. We're not doing good. I mean, but who have you played? Portland State, San Jose State, Hawaii, San Diego State. Now, look, you can win. You only are required to win the games that are on your schedule. The best team you played against, you lost. Best team. Was crazy in Eugene. Yep. I've been there before. I love Autzen. I think it's an underrated facility. I think it's an underrated atmosphere for as small as the stadium is. It's extremely loud. They get into it. I don't know if you remember the game when Oklahoma got kind of, and I'm not one that says the referees, cost them the game, but the onside kick that our guy recovered and they gave it to Oregon in that game. Vandy voted for them. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. But I'm not a fan of Oregon. I just think right now they're playing the best. I think they're playing the best football. And as they move on, like I said, Michigan this week, I'm so confused at how Michigan ends up in this point to where you have no quarterback that can put a forward pass into play appropriately. It's Keystone Cops out there. And the defense isn't as great as everybody thought it was going to be this year. It's not. Now, it's still in Michigan, but I think Oregon's up for it. I think they're up for it. I don't have any issue with them going to Michigan. We'll talk about that as well. Speaking of Vandy, Texas and Vanderbilt. Now, this is one of those weird games to where, Texas felt like they were in control, but a late touchdown, and next thing you know, things are a little bit closer. Diego Pavia, Clark Lee. I love what they're doing in Vanderbilt, right? And here's the other thing that I like too for Vanderbilt. I love the fact that they're not just, oh, we played them close. Like they're upset they lost this game because they can compete now. Now, what I want to see is if Clark Lee is going to be able to continue this, maintain this, right? If they're going to be able to maintain it, get recruits in, what they're going to do when the stadium's finished. He's obviously got people bought in. They've won way more games than I thought they were going to win this year. I think I only had them at 2 wins. They're at 5-3, 2-2. Hell, they got more wins in the SEC than Oklahoma does, right? Vanderbilt's played exceptionally well. I love their fight. I love their grit. I love what Clark Lee has done. I love Diego Pavia. I saw someone ask, here's the question, do you think Diego Pavia is good enough to play in the NFL? I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback, but I will tell you this, he could play for the Birmingham Stallions in the UFL. You know, he could really he could find his way there. But Texas, you know, I think Texas is, you know, they're looking ahead. They've got that big matchup with A&M coming up. Now I know, you know, George from the Golden Boot podcast, he saw him come on. Arkansas and Texas meet up. Texas has got to go to Fayetteville. If I can remember correctly, the last time they went there, Arkansas put up a 40 burger on them. But Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky at A&M. And how good is A&M now? Whew. Speaking of A&M, it was such an interesting game because that's another one of those games to where you're sitting there watching it and you're like, LSU is taking it to them. Taking it to them. Nussmeier's making good passes. Everything's really good. I mean, it's clicking. And you're like, man, that's going to be a good win for LSU. Hold up. Wait a minute. Nope. Connor Wegman sat down. They bring in Marcel Reed. And I told you on the game day show, right? On our game day show, I made the comparison for those who have watched football long enough that Marcel Reed reminded me of Reggie McNeil. He was untouchable. I was proud of, there's Vandy. I was proud of the fight my guys put up. They didn't quit when they got down 21-7. This is a different. And I was just saying that, man. What I loved about seeing the game and then watching social media, Vandy, was the fact that Vanderbilt's not okay with moral victories anymore. They're not like, hey, we played. They're pissed off they lost the game. They went into that game believing they could win. And that's a credit to what Clark Lee, that's a credit to what the leadership on that team has done. They have changed the culture at Vanderbilt, right? They have changed the culture at Vanderbilt to where it's not just about we're smart kids, we're going to get a good education, and we're playing in the SEC. Cool. And that's a tribute to Clark Lee, the fan base that supports him. And like I said, they didn't quit. Absolutely right. They didn't quit. They didn't quit. I hope they make it to a bowl game now. And I'm one of those people that I'm not like Tim Bailey. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I was 1,000% wrong about the Vanderbilt Commodores this year. 1,000% wrong. 1,000%. I think I said 2 wins at the beginning of the season. Boy, Vandy Chris was he was hot. He's like, nope, everybody, you're wrong. And you know what? It wasn't that I didn't believe him. I hadn't bought into Vanderbilt. Yeah, we had 2 turnovers that ended really. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's oh man, hey, you know, I'm one of those, man, Vandy. I hope you know. There's a lot of times when you're doing sports talk radio, when you're doing podcasts and stuff, you're gonna throw some takes out there, and some takes you're gonna look really smart. Some takes you're gonna look really bad. But you also have to be able to admit when you're wrong. And I was 1,000% wrong about Vanderbilt. Now the question is, I can hear Vandy. Oh, Vandy, hey, you know, he's got a right to be proud. Let's see. Terry's talking about his top 10. UCLA versus USC complete. All right. Ohio State and Michigan at both their stadiums. That's good. Texas, Oklahoma. But I'm going to tell you this. If you ever get a chance to come to Texas, Oklahoma, Terry, let me know. I'm going to go out there with you. Because the food, the festivities, everything involved, right? Everything involved in that game is special. Auburn, Alabama. Now, I'm going to tell you what, I with me living here in Birmingham, when they still played at Legion Field, now where Legion Field is now is not a very good part of town. But Bama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl at Legion Field was still special. And it's still special at Tuscaloosa and Jordan-Hare. And you got to say it right. Jordan-Hare, not Jordan-Hare, it's Jordan-Hare. Florida, Georgia, interesting that you bring that game up. I actually got to work that game from 94 to 98 when I was in the military. A second job I had was being security at Alltel Stadium where they played the Florida, Georgia game. So I've got to see 4 of them, walking around on the field there. Notre Dame versus USC in South Bend. Michigan, Notre Dame, that's good. West Virginia, Pitt, the backyard brawl. That'd be a great one. That'd be a great one to see. LSU versus that. Sorry, still got a little bit of a cough, but LSU versus that George Hancock team. Whoa, pig suey, right? Whoa, pig suey. So you appreciate this, Chris. Nebraska, Oklahoma has been played in recent years, but growing up in the Midwest, that right. Vandy, that's my youth. My youth was Thanksgiving weekend. Terry, I got that hot toddy right here. Well, I got an iced toddy right now. But Thanksgiving weekend, Vandy, meant Keith Jackson. It meant Dr. Tom Osborne versus Barry Switzer. It meant Jamel Holloway, Charles Thompson, Lydell Carr. Mike Rozier. They had so many, Roger Craig, Rathman. Just so many great matchups. But man, it was always cool and great. I love that rivalry. I love that rivalry. I'm scared from what I've seen this year and what I've seen from the coaching staff. And I hope I'm wrong. But I hope Oklahoma doesn't go the route of Nebraska in the SEC. Because right now they're in the bottom 3 for me. I hope. Nebraska, they're showing a little bit of life. They could have, should have beat Ohio State last week. But that game, Nebraska, Oklahoma, it was iconic. Keith Jackson with that 88-yard tight end reverse. Who the hell runs a tight end reverse anymore? And then it was the next year when Nebraska wore the all reds, right? They wore the all red uniforms, kind of a rainy, cold night. And I believe it was Keith Jackson made like a one-handed catch on the sideline. And then Lasher comes in and kicks a field goal for Oklahoma to win again. And, that's when they say the whole Sooner magic because of what they did. They would always do against Dr. Tom. But that was my youth, man. Thanksgiving weekend. And I was telling somebody the other day, Vandy, the one weekend, one Thanksgiving weekend, I was up in West Virginia visiting my grandparents. And I know exactly where I was when the Doug Flutie play happened. I was sitting on my grandfather's floor, had a plate full of food, watching the Flutie bomb, And that's why what happened yesterday in the Washington game, it kind of rekindled all those memories, sitting there and just, watching that. Terry says, honorable mentions, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. The Egg Bowl, I tell people this. I know it's annoying as hell, but I want to go to a Mississippi State game. I want to hear the cowbells. I feel like, Christopher Walken on Saturday Night Live. I've got a fever. The only cure is more cowbells. I want to see it. I want to see it. Oregon versus Washington, all these games in their home. Yeah. Autzen is an amazing place. When you see it, it looks very small. But if they get to rocking in there, that place gets so loud. So loud. It'll be interesting, Vandy. I hope coming up, next year, depending on when they release, if it's going to be a 9-game conference schedule for the SEC or not. After you finish this year, you go into next year. Or they hear the keychains in Arizona State. All right. I like Arizona State right now. I like the old Scatterboo kid. I think that kid is a hell of a football player. Hell of a football player. Love it. Staying with the AC or the SEC. Staying with the SEC. Goodness gracious. A game that was it wasn't interesting. A lot of people were intrigued to see what team would show up for Alabama, and what team would show up for Missouri. Now, Brady Cook tried to go. He tried to go. Couldn't do it. But I'm going to tell you this. That Drew Pine, another Arizona State kid there, Terry. Cowbells will mess up my heart. I got bad hearing too, man, working around the flight deck on, near fighter jets when I was on the USS Enterprise and Eisenhower. My hearing's bad. It's better than those stupid paddle people at Oklahoma State banging the wall with their wooden paddles. Stupid. Back to Drew Pine. Terrible. He's terrible. Not good. Missouri now 6-2, 2-2 in the conference. Both their losses have been by a large amount. Right? A&M beat them 41-10. And they lost 34-0 to Alabama. So they've lost 75-10 in their 2 losses. Whew. Yeah, man, Mizzou's not winning. I hope you're right, because that's the only hope I got for Oklahoma making a bowl game, Vandy. It's the only hope I got. Alabama comes to Norman, that's going to get ugly. Oklahoma's got to go to LSU at night. If LSU beats Georgia, they're still playing for a possible, playoff berth. But yeah, it's, if they get Noel back, right. But Brady, and you've heard me say numerous times on my show, and I'm not a fan of Eli Drinkwitz. I'm not a fan of his. But I respect Brady Cook. I respect the want to. I respect the fight, the guts, trying to come in and make it work. 4 more wins in UCLA. Hey, just win out, baby. Like they said in Major League. Might as well win the whole fucking thing. There you go. Win them all, right? Win them all just to piss them off. But Vandy, you're right. I mean, without Brady Cook, Drew Pine can't get it to Theo Weiss or Luther Burden. Can't. But this game, Jalen Milroe had no touchdowns through the air, but he had no interceptions. Really kind of played more under control. Justice Haynes, which I love Justice Haynes, 79 yards. Jalen Milroe had 50 yards. Jam Miller had 48 yards. Overall, Alabama just dominated them. 486 and 239 in yardage. 3 turnovers by Missouri. And a lot of them were ugly turnovers. Ooh, God, they were ugly turnovers. Looking up for Alabama now, I think Alabama plays Mercer. Or they got LSU. Yeah, they got LSU, my bad, next week. So they're off, have Mercer, or LSU, Mercer, come to Oklahoma, then the Iron Bowl. For Missouri, looking at their schedule, they've got, they lost out. Their next game is against Oklahoma. So they've got a bye week. Maybe Brady Cook is back for that. Brady Cook is as tough as 30-year-old leather. Yeah. Yeah. What did old JR say? $2 steak? Tougher than a $2 steak? Yeah, and again, I may not be a fan, but I can also pay respect and appreciation to a guy, because there's a lot of softness in the game of football now. There's a lot of people who I'm sitting out because I'm in a red shirt, do all this. But Brady Cook's out there. He was at the hospital and came back to play in that game against Auburn. UCLA's remaining games at Nebraska, Iowa, at Washington, USC, Fresno State. Well, I don't know. That's tough. Iowa, who the hell knows? So I've heard, and I got to read more into it. I saw that the Iowa quarterback is no longer on the roster. What's his name from Michigan? Why am I forgetting his name right now? What is his name? He's not showing up on the roster right now. Oh, that's killing me that I can't think of that quarterback's name. Oh well, we'll figure it out. But man, Alabama, they're still in it. Now out here, people, still aren't buying Alabama back 6-2. They've got a chance. If they go out there, if they beat LSU, Oklahoma's not a big deal. But if they win out, LSU, Mercer, Oklahoma, Auburn, I think Alabama makes it to the playoffs. What is their win-loss for the remaining games in your humble, non-Vandy opinion? At Nebraska, Patrick Mahomes 2.0, Dylan Raiola. I think they could beat Washington. I think they could beat Fresno State. And right now, the way USC is playing, I'd say 3-2. If I had to guess, 3-2. And who knows? That's why you play the games, right? What is the win lot? I say 3-2. That's what I think. The final game that I talked about in my Football Friday show, I talked about the Sunflower Showdown, Kansas State, Kansas. Kansas State has now won 16 games in a row in this rivalry. 16 games in a row. And I'm going to tell you, the Big 12 really intrigues me right now. Because don't look. Guess who's up there in contention for a Big 12 championship game spot? The Colorado Buffaloes. Nobody cares about the Trader 10. You'll be all right. Calm down, Troy. But Colorado, look at the top of the Big 12. BYU, looking good. 8-0, 5-0 in the conference. Iowa State, 4-0 in the conference, 7-0 overall. Kansas State and Colorado both at 4-1. Now, Kansas State has that advantage over Colorado. They beat them heads up. But for Kansas State, left at Houston, Arizona State, Cincinnati, at Iowa State. That Iowa State game is going to be huge. Terry says, what's the Trader 10? Well, he's a Wazoo fan, Terry. And, Wazoo and the Beavs got left alone from the Pac-12. So those teams that left, he calls them the Trader 10. It's okay. I understand the frustration. The Palouse is a hard place to get to, man. It's a hard place to get to. But Kansas State, that Big 12, BYU, right? So for BYU, they've got at Utah, the Holy War, their game. Kansas at Arizona State, Houston. I mean, I know there's a lot of people expecting BYU to falter. They're looking pretty solid. I'm just going to tell you. And it's a great story. Iowa State's got at Kansas, Cincinnati, at Utah, Kansas State. Colorado's remaining schedule. And look, hey, Colorado's bowl eligible, right? After what they've done the last couple of years, they're bowl eligible. Colorado has at Texas Tech, Utah, at Kansas, and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's a terrible football team now. Yeah, it's a hard place to get to. You're not going to win many recruiting battles to come to the Palouse, man. It's just, you're not going to win those. So it's hard to get there. It's hard to get talent to go there. Now, they have the opportunity, and they've done a fantastic job at cultivating some talent when they do get there, when you have the right coaches in place. I remember, Mike Leach was there. One of my good friends is on staff with them. And, He'd come from Dartmouth to where he was now. Jarrell Jackson was a receiver at Oklahoma, and he was on staff at Washington State when Mike Leach was there. Talk about they love their team. Love their team. Well, if Wazoo wasn't a hot dumpster juice, none of this would. You can land a jet here, unlike Happy Valley. Probably so. Probably so. But you're not winning a recruiting battle against Happy Valley. The whiteout, all that. You're just not. I get it. You can land a jet there. Cool. But yeah, Big 12, man. I'm really excited about the Big 12 to see what happens there. That's going to be kind of like a barn burner. ACC right now, you've got 3 teams that are undefeated. Clemson, Miami. Well, 4 teams, excuse me. Clemson, Miami, SMU, Pitt. Pitt's got that big matchup coming up with Clemson on the 16th. That's going to be a lot of fun. Franklin had to bust them. That's fine. Again, facts are facts, man. Talent level, there's more talent at Penn State than at Wazoo. Just how it is. The American Athletic Conference, Tulane's undefeated there, so watch out for them. Army, Navy, undefeated as well. Big 12, we went over that. Big 10, Indiana, Oregon, Penn State. Now, Penn State has got Ohio State this weekend. That's the big game in Happy Valley there, Troy. Penn State and Ohio State. Washington, Purdue, and Will Howard's he's all up in arms. Oh, man, I always wanted to I wanted to play for Penn State. Okay. You got shunned, right? You got shunned. But that's going to be a very, very interesting game. But like I said, right there, my Commanders, baby, 6-2. 6-2. The NBA season started. I know not a lot of people NBA fans, but in the NFL, it's been an entertaining year, I think. Look at the standings so far in the NFL. AFC East got the Bills up big on everybody. They're 6-2. Every other team is 2-5 or 2-6. AFC North, the Steelers, they're playing tonight. Ravens lost yesterday to Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns. AFC South, Houston Texans at front there. Kansas City Chiefs, the only undefeated team left in the league, is they're 7-0. They took down said Cam Ward made the best decision leaving Washington State, saved his career. And I don't know if I'll say this. That's a guy who just never had opportunity. From Incarnate Word to Washington State, and then of course, it's unfortunate. That's why I'm so worried about some of these Group of 5 schools, Terry, because if you've got somebody who has a good year, what makes you think you're going to keep them? They might be bouncing out and head to bigger schools. We already heard the Miami of Ohio coach talking about people poaching his kicker. Happens. Over the NFC, the West, it's a jumble up right there. The Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks all at 4-4. The Rams are at 3-4. NFC South, the Falcons have beat the Buccaneers now twice. They lead the division 5-3 or 5-3. Tampa Bay at 4-4. New Orleans struggled. They benched Spencer Rattler yesterday. Detroit playing exceptionally well. They're 6-1. Green Bay at 6-2. Minnesota at 5-2. In the NFC East, it's great to see Washington up in front at 6-2. First half of the season, you go 6-2. I'll take another 6-2, I promise. Philadelphia at 5-2. Cowboys look like hot dumpster fire. I don't know what that says. If he stayed at Cougar, he would have been the next DJU. I don't know about that. And I'll say why. I didn't buy DJU when he was at Clemson. There was just something not right with DJU. There was something not right. And he's showing it. He's showing it. But now, this show is about sports and food. It's now time. My top 5 Halloween candies. Top 5 Halloween candies. Put in the chat when you went trick-or-treating, or if you put the parent tax on your kids, what candy are you going for first? Now, again, these are my top 5. You don't have to agree with them. I'll open up the conversation. I want to hear what you have to say. I will say what I don't like. Those little orange and black, individually wrapped, peanut butter-esque type, whatever they were, they suck. Don't put them in my bag. Don't put fruit in my bag. I don't want an apple. I want candy. It's not playing it. There he goes. You better not say candy corn. I can promise you this, George. Candy corn is not on the list. I don't like eating candles. So it's not on the list. Here's my number 5. It's classic. Nerds. A box of Nerds, whether you got the watermelon cherry, the mix, you got all grape, you could dump the whole box in your mouth. I love Nerds, especially going trick-or-treating. I love getting Nerds. Now, I know they got the Nerds gummy clusters and stuff now, which are great. Carrie says, don't listen to George. He eats pig feet and ears. Well, I eat pig feet. I'll eat a pig from the rooter to the tutor, man. I don't care. George says, I like that pig. Bacon, sausage, ham hocks. Yeah. That's my number 5, Nerds. I think Nerds is classic. I think the flavor lasts longer. It's not like a sweet tart that kind of just, it's boom, in and out. I like the Nerds, right? I like Nerds. You just give me the classics. I mean, I like the gummy clusters, but I like the classics, right? My number 4, the mini crunch bars. Mini crunch bars. And I love, if I see, like, I'm going to grab a couple out of my kid's bag on Thursday. Now, he's got his Deadpool outfit. He's ready to go as Deadpool. But he's going to get that parent tax. But that's my number 4, crunch. Now, I do like that they made like the crunchable, like the little bites. Now, my movie theater food, I'd always get Goobers. But I love mini crunch bars. Peanut M&Ms. I could eat peanut M&Ms until I made myself sick, Terry. I could eat peanut M&Ms all day. But that's my number 4, crunch bars. Number 5, or number 3, I wonder if anybody else had or likes this, period. It's one of those that's very obscure. I say obscure. I love it. My wife loves it. The 100 grand bar, man. The 100 grand bar. Come at me. You got the little crisp like the crunch bar. You got the caramel like a caramello. 100 grand bar, man. I love the 100 grand bars. Love them. Those Crackle Crunch candies are great. Yeah, they're really good. Now, there's a lady that lives next door. Sweet lady. She always gives the kids out the full-size candy bars. We make sure, she's like, come back around when you've made it around the block, and if we still have some, you can have some more. See, I knew you were a smart guy, Terry. I knew you were smart. 100 grand is great. It is great. It is fantastic. Now, my number 2 in my top 5 Halloween candy. And again, this is just my opinion. You can vote on it. You can tell me I'm stupid. You can tell me I'm wrong. We'll talk about it. But my number 2, any type of Reese's peanut butter cup, whether it's the pumpkins, the little minis, the individual pack where you get 1 cup. I love Reese's peanut butter cup. Now, I wish people would start handing out the dark chocolate ones. The dark chocolate Reese's peanut butter, oh my God. So good. So good. And now they've got those big cups with the caramel and stuff in it. Oh, happy food dance. But I also like it because I live here in Birmingham, so it's never really cold on Halloween. And inevitably, I end up carrying the Halloween bag because the kid's not going to carry it all the way around the block. One of the reasons they get the dad tax, right? But you know, candy bar. Oh, yes, the PB Max. I remember that. That was a damn good candy bar. Now, I say this, one of my favorite candy bars, just the candy bar itself. And I think what I'm going to do next week, I'm going to take the SEC, just because I'm in the SEC now. I'm going to take the SEC and make every team a candy bar. Like Mississippi State would be the Charleston Chew or something like that, just because it's not good. But Boston baked beans, whatever. I'm going to assign candy bars to the SEC. Now, here's my number one. I will search through my kid's bag, and they come in different sizes. They got the regular, the share size, and they got the little minis. Nerds, Twix is good too. Twix was close, Terry. Twix is really close. Anything Reese's, lemon heads, yeah. Lemon heads are really good. I love lemon heads. But my number one, Snickers. It's my favorite. It's hands down my number one. I am a Snickers guy. Love them. Now, I will tell you this. If I'm just going to get a candy bar, like I've never seen the small ones. Like I like Baby Ruth. I like Paydays. But my favorite candy bar is a whatchamacallit. I freaking love whatchamacallits. You just don't get them ever on Halloween. Somebody was handing out sour worms. Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you what, the sour candy that I've really started to like was the Sour Patch Kids watermelon. The little watermelons. I love those. Love those. Chocolatey Payday. Right. But a chocolatey Payday, it's basically, that's a freaking Baby Ruth. That's what a chocolatey Payday is. But I love both of them. I'm going to tell you the candy that sucks. You can laugh at me all you want. You can agree, you can disagree. Freaking Zero Bar. Gross. Who eats the Zero Bar? I just know. See, everything that's in the Zero Bar. Caramel peanut almond nougat covered with a layer of white chocolate fudge. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Zero Bar. Not at all. Can't do it. Monday Night Football scores: Steelers up 6-3. World Series Game 3. The Dodgers taking it to the Yankees. They're already up 2-0 in the series. And now they're up 2-0 in Game 3. My pick for the NBA, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a homer pick, but I like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren. I love that team. They took it to Atlanta last night. Took it to Denver first game. It's a good team. I mentioned in my stream, I have a confession to make. Living in California, I never had a zero candy bar until I got to Mississippi. Did you like it? I mean, now there's certain things like the white chocolate covered pretzels and stuff like that I really like. But I'm not going to purposely go out and get a zero bar. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. But good stuff, guys. You liked it. Okay. Terry says he likes it. It was great with a vanilla Coke. Oh. Now, I'll tell you what I miss being diabetic is going to Sonic and getting a Route 44 vanilla Dr. Pepper with the ice. Oh. With the grilled cheese from Sonic made on the Texas toast. Yeah, buddy. Again, hence diabetes probably, right? Right. But coming up next, 8:30 here on the Dog TV Network. Don't forget, you've got George, Vandy, Chris, Cody from the Golden Boot Podcast. They're here to talk about all this weekend, get their thoughts and opinions on Arkansas, their performance against Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Texas, LSU, A&M. All around, just a good show. Great guys. They do a fantastic job. There's always some funny clips involved. Great conversation. Hop into the chat with those guys at the Golden Boot Podcast. And Terry said, I tried the Dr. Pepper cream soda. It was great. I've not tried that yet. I do love Dr. Pepper. That used to be a vice of mine. Like it was, Dr. Pepper was a vice. I mean, I felt like Forrest Gump. Must drink about 15 Dr. Peppers. I did. I love Dr. Pepper. I would slam Dr. Pepper all day. And sweet tea. Diabetes. But guys, I appreciate it tonight. I love talking sports. I love talking food. Don't forget Friday night. We've got our football Friday night where we're going to talk ball. We're going to talk some more college football games, right? A look ahead to these big games. Oh, I forgot to mention, how about former Oklahoma defensive Cade McNamara? That's who it was. Cade McNamara, God, the Iowa quarterback from Michigan. He's not on the roster at Iowa anymore. Crazy. UCF fires Ted Roof. So now you think about Ted Roof was the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, fired. Seth Luttrell, offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, he was fired. And before the Oklahoma Ole Miss game, real quick. He was the number 2 seed. I appreciate you, Terry. That's very kind, sir. Very kind. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your participation. I love having the conversation. Like I said, it's like when I was back in radio, and I loved having like a caller-driven show. But yeah, see, we talk about Penn State. Is Aller going to be playing? I don't know. Tip of the hat to Indiana. Even without Rourke, that's a good football team. Signetti is doing a fantastic job. Fantastic job. You made the big jump. Cheers to you, Terry. Little bourbon to celebrate that. I appreciate that. But Oklahoma, Ole Miss over the weekend. I got to talk about that real quick, then I'll get out of here. They did it to me. I didn't know what to expect with Seth Luttrell being fired. Those Nebraska fellas are hardly engaging. You got to engage, man. But rock hard ball, they're good. They know what they're talking about. But yeah, I'll pass that on to them. You got to get a little more engagement. You got to, talk to the people. Like I said, I like my show to be like a barbershop visit, right? But going into Oxford, I know a lot of people. I didn't give Oklahoma a chance. I really didn't. And like I said, I've been through the John Blake era. I've been through Schnellenberger. I've been through Gibbs. I've seen some bad football at Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma set a precedent that they didn't do since '98, losing 3 games in a row by double digits. That was John Blake's last year at Oklahoma. There is now a conversation on who believes that Brent Venables will be around next year. I don't know. Going into the year, I was like, yeah. But now, I don't know. If he doesn't make it to a bowl game, I don't know. But I gave them no chance to beat Ole Miss. They take Rivers and you and the Golden Boot are playing for them. That's not fair. They got 3 guys, man. I'm just one guy and a cup of bourbon. That's all I got. I got some funny jokes. I got a round head. I just like to talk about sports and food. But I didn't expect Oklahoma to compete. Didn't know what to think offensively. Offensive line hadn't played well. You heard about Walter Nolan. big guy at Ole Miss, how good they were against the run. And I was pleasantly surprised. And to see Oklahoma compete, it made me happy. This says a lot about you. I appreciate that, Terry. Very kind, sir. But Ole Miss takes the opening drive, they go down, score. We take the opening drive, get down inside the goal line, and flub it on fourth down, give up an opportunity. But we take a 14-10 lead at halftime in Oxford. And the offense would look good. This is an offense that couldn't. You were like Allen Iverson carrying the Sixers. I love Allen Iverson. Bubba Chuck. Hey, Terry, I'm going to tell you this. Go on YouTube and type in Allen Iverson high school quarterback. Watch Allen Iverson play football there in that Hampton Roads, Norfolk area in Virginia Beach. That's where he got the nickname Bubba Chuck. Go watch Allen Iverson. That guy was ridiculous. And there's a lot of people in that 757, that Hampton Roads, Norfolk, that area, Portsmouth, that believe Allen Iverson was the best athlete they had. And that's Michael Vick, Plexico Burris, Ronald Curry, guys like, it's go YouTube, Allen Iverson, high school football. He was a quarterback. He was a kick returner. He was a defensive back. And I believe if I'm correct, I believe he was offered a scholarship to Notre Dame to play football. And that was back when Lou Holtz and the Irish were winning national championships. So Allen Iverson was awesome. Anyway, back to the Oklahoma Ole Miss thing. Oklahoma had struggled all year converting third downs, running the football. They had 125 yards rushing in the first half, 7 of 9 on third downs, 10 first downs in the whole first half. And I'm sitting there and I'm texting people that I know. I'm texting people in the media out in Oklahoma that I know are covering the game. And my first thought was the optics on this doesn't look good for Seth Luttrell being fired. That Oklahoma is out here now doing this well against a team that hadn't given up very many running yards all year. But to go out there, they look different. Jackson Arnold looked poised. He looked confident. Looked better in control. 22 of 31, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. Javonte Barnes, best game for him I've seen, 16 carries, 67 yards. Javonte Barnes also had 5 catches. The freshman, Jacob Jordan, freshman walk-on, Jacob Jordan. Still no word on Deion Burks, Andrew Anthony, Jalil Farouk. We don't know when they're all going to come back. But it's tough. And in the second half, it was a complete 180. As well as Oklahoma played in the first half, and take nothing away from Ole Miss, as well as Oklahoma played in the first half, they played terribly in the second half. Offense sputtered. Sexton, the left tackle, went down. All of a sudden, the offensive line became a sieve. They couldn't move the ball. A lot of sacks. They end up, statistically, they gave him 9 sacks. So that's back-to-back weeks that Oklahoma has given up 9 sacks. It's not good. It's not good. Now, the one thing coming in, Oklahoma's got the Maine Black Bears this weekend. They're a 35-point favorite against the Maine Black Bears. Maine plays in a stadium that I think holds roughly 12,000 people. Going to be a few more people at the game in Norman, I think. Then they go at Missouri, which is going to be a late-night kickoff, either 6 or 6:45 on ESPN or the SEC network. Oklahoma at Missouri, former Big 8, former Big 12 rivalry, Alabama, LSU. So, I mean, and the way this season goes, and I'll say this, and I want you to kind of understand when I say this, that I'm not calling for Oklahoma to beat Alabama. But the way this season has gone, this is the year with how bad things are, and Alabama having some vulnerability that maybe in the fourth quarter it's still a one-score game. I don't know. Now, I do think Alabama wins that game. I think LSU beats them, but We got to hope Missouri, man. Now, they got a week to get Brady Cook healthy. We'll see. But you got to, even before that, they weren't playing great. But without Brady Cook, they have no chance. Drew Pine can't get it done. Can't get it done. But that's why Oklahoma now, you're sitting there at 4-4, 13th in the SEC. And what's frustrating is all the people that are like, oh, you guys aren't ready for the SEC. I thought we were. I was wrong. No, I said 7-5, 8-4 for the year. That would mean they would have to go 3-1 or go 4-0 to do what I said. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope. I'll watch every game like I did Washington last night. Before we go, I'll play one more time.
So here you go.
He's gotten hit throughout the rest of the game, and it's hurting more now.
Comes down to one last play. And it's going to be getting longer by the second. You're all the way back at the 30-yard line. Now you can step into it. Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line. And the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle! It's Noah Brown! Oh, my God!
Here's even better. Number 29 for the Bears. I don't know if you've seen the video. Walking back, and he's waving at the Washington fans, the team, and stuff like that. As the ball is snapped, you see him kind of turn around like, oh, I'll go over here. He's the one that jumps up and tips the pass in the Noah Brown's hands. Unreal. Love it. Hail to the Commanders. Good to see Washington. It's been a long time since it's flip-flop. Usually during football season, the University of Oklahoma has carried me. Now it's the Washington Commanders. Stay healthy, Jaden Daniels. Everybody have a great Monday night. Have a great week. Enjoy the football. Again, full slate. There's Maction, Tuesday night games, Thursday night, Friday night. We'll have some football Friday night talk and get you ready for Saturday's game. Also, don't forget Saturday mornings, Taylor, Arenz, and myself, we host the College Football Dogs Game Day Show. We'll have a bunch of writers on, talking about different games, people that are at locations covering games, because the College Football Dogs are bringing you the best coverage out there, right? Bringing you the best coverage out there. Guys, that's going to do it for me. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate everybody who came in, who participated. And remember to always positively move forward, guys.
Thanks for joining us on this delicious journey through the world of sports and food on Sports Bytes with your host, Chris Joseph. We hope you've enjoyed the game day stories and culinary adventures. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you've got any mouth-watering sports-related tales or favorite game day recipes, share them with us on social media. Until next time, remember, it's not just about the game. It's about the bites that make it unforgettable. Stay hungry for more Sports Bytes.